When surfboards were first introduced to the rest of the world, they weren't very accessible. So let's see how surfboard designs have made the boards more accessible and changed our culture over the years. Hawaii, 1,000 years ago.
Or you could say, it was invented 2,000 years ago. No one really knows when it was invented, or, in fact, where it was invented. You could say it was invented on planet Earth, but that's pretty obvious. If you want to get more specific, you could say it was invented in the Pacific Ocean, somewhere there. But if you narrowed it down any more than that, you just have to be guessing.
So let's stick to Hawaii for now. Hawaii, 1,000 years ago. A surfer notices a ripple in the ocean, slowly moving towards him. He turns the board that he has been sitting on around 180 degrees more or less. He lays down on his wooden board, 11 feet long, and starts paddling directly towards shore. After paddling for a few short moments, he feels a lightness in his chest. As that ripple in the water has gotten larger and larger, closer and closer to its breaking point, picks up the bottom of his board. From there, a flurry of motion results in the man standing up on his board. Then, the wave finally breaks. All the tension that has been present in this man's life has been released in the form of white water. Everything is momentarily forgotten as the man rides this wave all the way back to the shore of Hawaii. In Hawaii, there were two board designs that allowed surfers to experience this lightness. These designs were the Olo and the Alaya. The Olo was made for people high up in the social ranking of their tribe. Olos were 14 to 16 feet long and were made out of solid wood. Due to this, the boards could be well over 100 pounds heavy. Both boards lacked fins. However, the Alaya was 10 to 12 feet long, but it was also made out of solid wood, which came from the wili-wili, ula, and koa trees, which are native to the Hawaiian Islands. Alayas were the only boards that commoners were allowed to ride. Hawaiians cared a lot, and still do, about surfing, and it remains part of the culture. Hawaiians used to pray to their gods for larger waves and friendlier winds. Some people suspect that commoners weren't even allowed to stand up on their boards, as it could be viewed as disrespectful to their gods and chiefs. In 1909, surfing was introduced to America on the East Coast, in North Carolina, by Burke Haywood Bridgers. People loved it so much that it spread over to the West Coast shortly after. In 1915, surfing was brought to Australia by a Hawaiian by the name of Duke Kahanamoku. Since people didn't have Hawaiian chiefs judging them, they started to stand up. However, one problem with the boards they were standing up on was that they didn't have any fins. As a result, the boards were very unstable, and they made it hard to get into surfing. That all changed in 1935, when Tom Blake fixed a fin to the bottom of his board. This made the boards a lot more stable to stand up on, and generate speed by turning the board. Pretty soon, people were doing tricks on their boards, such as turning them and carving on the wave face, hanging 10, and getting barreled. Getting barreled is extremely difficult to do, but results in an adrenaline and dopamine rush incomparable to anything else. People will travel all across the world to get a perfect barrel. As people got better at their surfing, there were clear limitations as to what people could do on their surfboards and how they could transport their boards. Surfboards back then were really heavy, like over 100 pounds heavy, and they became even heavier after they had been used, with the water getting in with the wood. They were also really expensive because they were made from the imported wood from Hawaii. Therefore, plenty of people were left out of the surfing demographic. In 1946, Pete Peterson made a fiberglass surfboard. The board was made from hollow plastic, a redwood stringer. A stringer is a strip of wood in the middle of the board, and fiberglass tape. This made boards much lighter and less expensive. However, These boards just weren't very good. The design was improved in 1949 by Bob Simmons. Instead of plastic, he used styrofoam. He then glassed over the fiberglass with resin for more durability. Surfers now had a better board, but as all great innovators do, the surfboard shapers didn't stop. In the 50s, polyurethane foam was added to surfboards for lightness. Also in the 50s, another type of board was developed. Before then, a lot of boards had the edges, or rails, widest at the middle. This didn't cut it when surfers started riding bigger waves. The board became too unstable. So, George Downing made a board that had the rails widest when they were closer to the bottom of the board. This became known as a down-pointed rail. Boards used to be completely flat. The boards that Downing made had rocker. Rocker is the elevation of the nose and tail above the center of the board. If the nose rocker is increased, you're less likely to nosedive and fall off the front of your board. If the tail rocker is increased, you have more maneuverability. The boards he made were also long and narrow, for faster paddling to catch big waves. These boards became known as big wave guns, since surfers would hunt down big waves. By now, surfing and surfing culture had gone mainstream, thanks to the innovations made by shapers, making the sport more accessible. Clothing changed, as more beach and water-friendly clothes were produced to resemble the laid-back attitude of most surfers. Bands and musicians such as the Beach Boys and Dick Dale wrote surf-inspired music. Artists like Rick Griffin created art that defined years and years of surfing culture throughout the decades. Surfing magazines were created. Surfing culture was big, and it was here to stay. Again, surfers came to a standstill in what was possible on their boards. There were only a few things left for them to do. Dick Brewer reduced the average surfboard length from 10 feet to 6 feet sometime in the late 60s. The new shortboards won world championships, allowed surfers to turn quicker at greater angles. The backside of the surfboard, known as the tail, used to always be a square shape, but more options were created, such as a swallowtail and a round pin. The swallowtail allows the surfer to generate speed out of the rails and transition from rail to rail in turns. The pintail gives more hold in larger waves and lets surfers turn tighter when riding backside with your back facing the wave. The number of fins was changed up, though you can still buy surfboards with one fin. Twin fins were created by Steve Liss, along with the Fish surfboard. Twin fins give more speed along with a loose feeling in turns. Fish surfboards utilize these features in smaller waves. Thruster, or three-fin configurations, made by Simon Anderson in the early 80s, gave the surfer maneuverability and control, as well as more speed generated out of turns. Thruster configurations are the most popular. Quad fins, made by Peter Ware, have the maneuverability and speed of the twin fin, with the stability of the thruster. The bottom of the board was changed up. Boards used to be convex at the bottom, but surfers soon realized that a concave design had more advantages. It gave more stability and more drive out of turns. Different patterns of concave are used, but the most common is one indentation in the middle and two in the tail. Over the years, surfboards have changed a lot. They've gone from oversized planks to lightweight, maneuverable works of art. Surfers have gone from laying down on a flotsam tree trunk to launching themselves 8 feet in the air, from falling to doing flips and 540s. Thanks to the hard work and innovation of surfers, these changes in design have led to surfing becoming a $15 billion industry. Our music, clothes, art, economy, and way of seeing the world has changed forever. And dare I say, for the better.